This week has already been chock full of Destiny 2 news. What with the reset happening, of course an exotic quest going live, the Stasis Spotlight, and a patch dropping, there's so much stuff to talk about and so little time to cover it. What's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and yesterday we had the final reveal, the final Stasis Spotlight for the incoming Hunter subclass, Revenant. But between that and the exotic quest for the Traveler's Chosen, again the patch notes and the reset, we had a lot of stuff to go over and figured we'd put this out a little bit later. This is going to be the final in-depth dive into the subclasses that we're going to be getting alongside Destiny 2 Beyond Light. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the Hunter Revenant Stasis subclass. And of course, just like before with the previous issues of the Stasis Spotlight, we're going to get this awesome image macro, as well as some in-depth details for how this class is going to work, as well as some of the motivations behind it. Here's what Bungie has to say about the Hunter Revenant. One of the most important parts of developing Stasis and its accompanying Guardian subclasses has been in defining each of their fantasies. The team has spent a great deal of time iterating each subclass, starting with the fantasy that instantly summarizes the experience. In some cases, that comes with ease. For example, the fantasy shorthand for the Warlock Shadebinder was established early on as Ice Wizard. From that simple phrase, anyone can instantly conjure the image in their mind of what it would be like to play a stasis-powered Warlock in Beyond Light, summoning your stasis staff and unleashing dark energy to freeze opponents. Other times, the fantasy evolves over the course of many discussions, iterations, and playtests. That was the case with the Hunter Revenant subclass, which went through many iterations before we aligned on the Ninja archetype. The result is an amazing Stasis experience that we can't wait for Hunter fans to try for themselves. They go on to say that early on, we knew that the Hunter would embody the idea of slowing the battle around them with their Stasis powers. That starts with Withering Blade, the Hunter Revenant's melee attack. The player throws a deadly Stasis Shuriken into the fight. It ricochets off surfaces and enemies, slowing and damaging them along the way. Land 2 Shuriken on the same target, and that enemy will be instantly frozen. And when fully charged with ability energy, the Hunter Revenant can unleash their deadly super, Silence and Squall. Named after the pair of Kama blades that the Hunter summons, this super involves a two-pronged attack, with each Kama blade having a different function. The first blade, when thrown, immediately detonates on impact, freezing enemies in a radius from the center of the blast. Hurl Squall, the second blade, and it will embed itself in a surface or an enemy and then detonate, creating a stasis storm that will track nearby enemies, slowing and damaging them as it makes contact. And to cut in right there, that's what we got to see a lot of in that B-roll footage and in some of the trailer footage before. I described the Hunter Revenant super as being kind of like Blade Barrage, where instead of the two-part hit of Blade Barrage being, the impact damage and then the explosion, with the Hunter Revenant and Silence and Squall, the first hit's going to detonate ice, which will freeze all enemies within a specific radius, and then the second hit is going to embed itself and then detonate, which creates that big stasis storm. It's a pretty creative variant of the Blade Barrage template that we already have. And I think it's a great way to show off the focus on the Hunter Revenant's ability to slow things, not just to freeze them like what we've seen with the Titan Behemoth and the Warlock Shadebinder. Anyways, Bungie goes on to state that as is the case with the Warlock Shadebinder and the Titan Behemoth, players using the Hunter Revenant will also be able to customize their stasis powers over time using aspect and fragment slots, which of course they explained in a previous Stasis Spotlight for the Warlock Shadebinder. If you missed any of that, it'll be down in the description box below. We'll have links to the videos where we cover all of it. Basically, with these Stasis Fragments and aspects, they're almost going to be kind of like subclass mods that you'll earn through playing the game, and those mods will allow you to expand upon the abilities of your melees, of your grenades, and your class abilities while you're playing with Stasis subclasses. And then we go on and get a couple of examples of both Stasis Fragments and aspects for the Hunter Revenant, including a Hunter-specific slow dodge aspect that will allow the Revenant to temporarily slow nearby enemies each time they perform a dodge. If you're already annoyed with Shade Step and Marksman's Dodge and all that kind of stuff in PvP, well, imagine a Hunter doing it, breaking your line of sight or breaking your aim assist, and also slowing you down. I can see that causing a few problems in PvP. Especially with something like the exotic Gemini Jesters. I think with the misdirection perk, where dodging disorients nearby enemies and temporarily removes their radars. So you could have that ability mixed in with the fact that those enemies are now slowed. That's all but a guaranteed kill for any skilled player. Definitely some interesting stuff, but it's not the only aspect or fragments that we get to learn about in this article. Of course, these image macros show us we're also going to be getting the Shatter Drive stasis aspect. It looks like this is basically going to be a new Stasis Hunter version of the Warlock Dawnblade Phoenix Dive ability, where midair you can hold your ability or crouch button and you'll basically descend to the ground. But with Shatter Dive, rather than healing like with the Phoenix Dive, instead you're going to shatter nearby targets on impact. So you'll use it to break the crystallized ice that you're going to be building up with your other class abilities. We also get a look at the new Stasis Fragment, Whisper of Hedrons. With this, you can gain a bonus to weapon damage after freezing a target with stasis energy. Of course, it's got -10 to your strength there, which is kind of neat, as it almost functions kind of like a charge with light ability. You freeze enemies and then you get a weapon damage bonus. Not too bad at all. Now, apart from the intrinsic stasis abilities that will be a part of each subclass, all Guardian classes using stasis will have their choice of a variety of stasis grenades to use in combat, and we get those listed out here. First up, Glacier Grenade. Upon contact with the ground, a wall of stasis crystals instantly burst from the earth and nearby enemies are frozen inside stasis crystal. These grenades have multiple uses, from encasing enemies to creating cover. When destroyed, the crystals will create an AoE burst damage to nearby enemies. After that, we've got Cold Snap Grenades. Upon impact with the ground or an enemy, this grenade unleashes a wave of stasis energy that races along the ground in the direction of the closest nearby enemy, freezing them and then searching out the next nearby foe. You can freeze up to 3 enemies with a single Cold Snap Grenade, and I do believe that might be the grenade that we saw some use of in some of the trailers we've gotten already. Finally, we have Duskfield Grenades. Duskfield Grenades create powerful stasis fields that suck enemies into them when forming. Once an enemy is caught inside, they will be slowed, and if unable to make it out in time, frozen in place. This is a grenade that you'll use to pull enemies in and then freeze them solid. All 3 of these grenade abilities show the potential of stasis to change the way you fight in Beyond Light, including of course with Stasis's new ability, relatively new ability to create geometry within the game. We've seen that in a lot of the trailers here. You can use some of these abilities and grenades to create platforms that you can use for cover or as something to jump on top of. That concept alone is going to create so many new weird opportunities within the game, and I can't wait to see what kind of jumping puzzles Bungie's going to build around the notion of creating your own platforms. Going to be a lot of interesting stuff moving forward. But alright Guardians, that's pretty much it for the biggest bits of news in this week's issue, this week's final issue of the Stasis Spotlight for the Hunter Revenant. There's a lot of great information in there, and the new Stasis subclasses, I gotta say, are looking like they're gonna be a lot of fun, especially when you mix in a weapon like the Traveler's Chosen, which we just got in the big exotic update yesterday. It's a weapon that basically allows you to have extra charges of all of your abilities whenever you need them. Mixing that in with some of these Stasis subclasses are going to be so good. I cannot wait for those combinations to move forward. But alright Guardians, that is it for this one. Those are my thoughts. Be sure to leave me yours down in the comment section below. How do you feel about the new Stasis subclasses? Which one do you think is going to be your favorite? The Hunter Revenant, the Titan Behemoth, or the Warlock Shadebinder? Be sure to let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But I'm out for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.